What is going on, everybody? This is Jonathan Ferrell, and I'm here with Mr. Scott Hardy himself. I'm so excited because we have our very first official podcast, and we're going to be talking about a lot of different things today. But for those of you who don't know Scott Hardy, I just wanted to give him a quick introduction. He's a master salesman, master of his craft, and he's already provided us with a ton of value. And I wanted to get into the nitty-gritty of what makes Scott Hardy Scott Hardy. So, Scott, I know that you have a vast background as far as sales, and so I wanted to get into that. Like, what was it that made you start down this career of sales? And, you know, what was it that got you into this crazy business that we call sales?
I mean, Let's start with that. Nobody gets into sales on purpose. I mean, everybody wants to. I was going to be a creative director for advertising agencies. I went to school to get a marketing degree with emphasis in advertising. And what I found out was to start out in that industry, you made about $19,000 a year.
Right.
And I was not interested in that. I didn't want to work my way up. I wanted instant gratification. My uncle worked for Viacom and got me a job at Showtime. I mean, literally, his influence got the job. I was young. I was fresh out of San Francisco State. And one day I came home to my wife, who this May 14th will be 37 years married.
Wow, that's awesome.
And I said to her, she was having a glass of wine. I said, you know what? Really, honey, I'm just in sales.
It's true.
I'm just in sales. And I realized nothing happens until somebody sells something.
Yeah.
And that is a critical realization. War doesn't happen. Healthcare doesn't happen. Government changes doesn't happen. A new car, nothing happens until somebody sells something. I have to convince you that this is important to do. And so what I learned, because luckily my first job was I got very well trained. Mm-hmm. And that was with my uncles who owned radio stations. And that's where I went after high school. I had no intention of going to college. I had 100% intention of making money off of my voice. I was a goof off in high school. I had my own radio show. You know, I loved DJing and playing music and all of that.
So podcasting is nothing new for you then, obviously.
This is great as well. You know, I'm used to talking to myself in a room for 4 hours alone, right? I mean, that's what I'm used to doing. You know, so how did I get this way? That's how I got this way, right? But the key was learning this one thing. That selling is understanding what you want. So I say it this way. Sales is asking, not telling.
Absolutely.
Sales leadership is showing, not telling. If I want to show you how to sell something, you need to come and watch me because I can't explain it. And I can write book after book, which I have other books out there. And you don't learn anything from that. And I think there's a phenomenon when I public speak, people are motivated, we go to training sessions, we go to motivational seminars. I ask people all the time, and I'll ask you, it's just a game I play, how many books on sales do you have?
Right now, I have about 40.
Okay, so the first one didn't work? Play along.
The 40th one worked.
So, and why did it work?
Because then they started implementing what I was
You
reading.
did what it said.
Exactly.
So you can choose probably any sales book. They all say the same thing. They say this, except for some out there. I mean, there are some that I would call the art of the con, okay?
Right.
That's not what we're about. What we're about is this. The people I work with and the people I influence are about needs and benefits and the analysis between the two. So when you tell me I have a square peg, I say, well, we have a square hole, and it's a perfect fit. I know people who have round holes and will tell you that your square peg will fit in there.
Right.
And guess what? With a hammer, I can get it in there. But there's a lot of space around those sides, right? Those little half moons. That's unmet needs. And those are what happens when I show up and I see the window of unmet needs, I pull your product out and I give the correct product.
Right.
And that is what I want everyone to understand, that sales is not talking, it's not convincing, it's showing and telling, and it's showing someone that you need something and you may not even know you need it.
Right.
And that format, which you saw some of our bigger retailers adopt years later, is called Did You Knows. Did you know? You know, did you know that it's free to use a real estate agent to buy a home in the state of California?
Right.
Did you know that in New York you have to pay a commission? Did you know? Did you know? And that's when people are educated. Americans have a very unique characteristic, and that is they will listen to you talk for hours and not understand much of what you're saying and never let you know that.
Absolutely.
So our other technique is to ask people if anyone has ever shown them this. Has anyone ever shown you how to read a settlement statement in real estate? Has anyone ever shown you the different loan options? So we talk like that.
Absolutely.
And that's how I got into sales by accident. I had children, I had to pay my bills, and I found that the unlimited opportunities fit my personality type, which was I don't want to be judged by the hours that I work. I want to be judged by the production that I produce.
Absolutely. And that's huge because, sales itself, in life every day, everybody's selling something, whether you're selling yourself to, somebody who you're going to work with, whether you're selling your services, whether you're selling different products. And so people think of sales as just this, you have to be selling something, but I can even be selling myself to you right now. I could be selling my friendship to you. I could be selling, various things that are going to also bring benefit, overall.
Well, let me give you a perfect example. I'll use training dogs as an example.
Right.
So when you get a new dog, when you get a puppy, any of you, when you get a puppy, training is happening the moment you get that puppy. The puppy is training you or you are training the puppy. And my joke is, I know it's the bacon, but I think it's love.
Right.
I just pretend it's love. Okay, we can get into that all day long, whether a dog loves you or doesn't love you or anything. My dog is a Weimaraner hunting dog, and it can sniff. And I tell you what, if I have a piece of anything under my fingernail from lunch or anything, it knows where that is. It will give me the impression that it loves me. It doesn't care. It wants food, warmth, and shelter, and a tummy rub. That's really what it wants. And I found that's what humans want too.
Right.
And the tummy rub comes this is how the tummy rub comes in human relationships. I heard what you said. Right. I'm keeping my word to you. I said please, and I said thank you. And if you take that model, if you take everything away from selling, if you take all costs away, so if all loans are free, you just have to fill out the application with someone. If all real estate purchases are free, you just have to use an agent to do it. What are you going to choose based on? If you take all costs away.
Personality.
Quality
of the people.
Quality.
Personality.
So sure, the fit, right?
Right.
I mean, some people like to work with different types. My wife has a more introverted personality. I have one friend that has a extroverted personality. Everyone that I like to be around allows me to do the talking.
Right.
And I've add more value in a relationship through speaking and storytelling than I do as listening. I'm not as good of a listener.
Right.
But in the sales environment, I had to train myself to do active listening, and that is repeating back to you what you said.
Right.
So you're looking for a purple car with white pinstripes.
Right.
You told me that, but I have to say it back to you so that I make sure I heard what you said. And I've played that telephone trick at the dinner table. And in my family, it only takes two people to change the story. It started out, he was angry at her and he said, move. And by the second person, he was naked in the street with a Uzi.
Right.
I mean, we just exaggerate, right, to make the story more thrilling. So it's very important when you communicate in sales to say back to the prospective client, okay, what you thought you heard,
right,
so that they can correct you and say, yes, I want purple, but not white pinstripes, light pinstripes, not white, light. And you're like, okay. So like light purple, because in sales, this is something my Uncle Bill taught me. He said this I was 18, actually, I was in Montana with him, and he said, sales is like this, Scotty. Somebody is standing on the other side of a brick wall that's 20 feet high. You can't see them. And they have a slingshot and they shoot you over a green ball and they say, we want a green ball like this, but greener.
Right.
And you have to figure out, what does that mean? What does greener? It's green already. Do you mean lighter greener, darker greener? Okay, so this is the interview process where we do what's called a needs analysis. So our skill is such, as a proper salesman or woman, to come in and ask the questions that we know that you should be able to answer. And when you can't answer them, or you give us an answer we know is incorrect, that's how we know we can help you.
Right. It's funny that you say that, because within my lending experience, like asking various questions to people, like my introduction call is literally just that needs phone call. Like, okay, let's go through what you want, and then I'm going to put together the scenarios that are going to get you to where you want. So like I go through my questionnaire, like, okay, how many, like what are you looking for as like a comfortable monthly payment? How much are you planning for your down payment? What area are you looking at? And then based off of those answers, that's when I could formulate, okay, I believe that this is going to be the best loan for you. I'm going to give you guys the options so that way you can then come to your own.
And that's exactly what you should do, Jonathan.
Right.
Because what happens is when we document your needs, we now know when they change.
Yep.
See, if I don't document, if I don't do a needs analysis, I can't get a baseline that this is where your brain is today. Hey, you're going to change your mind about certain things. When we get out on the marketplace, I mean, if I want to go look for a home right now, I want one with a pool, I want one with an office, I want a place for my gym, I want 14,000 car garage so I can put my music in there and everything.
Right.
And then I'm going to get reality when I go and look at it. And I'm going to realize, ooh, that's a bit. So if I'm going to start shaving things back. I may not tell you that. That's your job to ask me.
Right.
Has anything changed since the last time we met or spoke?
Absolutely.
Nobody asks that. Nobody does this, which is semi-related to this. Follow this one. So I call you, and the first thing I ask you is, did I catch you at a bad time? I don't ram my conversation down your throat because guess what? I don't do that when I call my mom.
Right.
I don't call that, we're friends. I don't call you up and say, hey, Jonathan, it's Scott, blah, 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 blah.
Oh, wait, is now a good time?
And you're like, dude, I can't talk to you right now. And you're like, yeah, but that's not what I do.
Right.
That's what telemarketers do who have no skill whatsoever.
Right.
So when everyone tells you in sales that even if it's a numbers game, and even a blind squirrel can find a nut. Have you ever watched a blind squirrel try to find a nut?
I have not, no.
Okay. I just picture it in my mind.
That's
and
what I was
don't have a
doing.
lot of patience. That would be the most frustrating. Okay, my dog is a hunting dog, and there was a rabbit in our backyard, and for the life of me, I mean, it was standing by my foot practically. I couldn't get the dog to focus it. It was like watching a blind squirrel find a nut. It passed it and passed it and passed it and passed it and passed it. And you know what? That is a waste of time.
Right.
Okay? That is a waste of time. I'd rather be skilled. I know my product, I know my industry, so I know which questions to ask and I know how to interact with you. And I am a courteous person and I understand that I can't see you when I call, and the difference between an in-face sales call and an over-the-phone sales call is close your eyes when you're in-face and you can pretend you're on the phone.
Right.
That's the only difference. All right, so the tone and inflection of your voice, the pacing, how fast you speak, that
100%.
you mirror so when you hear the person, because everything is sped up on the phone.
Right.
Everything is sped up, and I talk fast enough to begin with, so I have to really focus up and slow
Tone it
myself
down a little bit.
and speak like this on the phone. So when I ask you, did I catch you at a bad time, I'm not looking for any particular answer. I want to know the truth. And you say, yes, this is a bad time. When would be a better time? Call me back in 15 minutes. Great. That's my experience of human beings. My experience is they're reasonable. If you talk like a normal human being, just remove the cussing. Talk to them like you talk to anyone. If you tell your mom about this business, and this is it's kind of an old school training technique that I used where I would say, if your mom said, honey, I opened a new business and now I'm going to live in this town and I want to go buy a house. What are you going to do? How are you going to speak to her? How are you going to make sure? And let me tell you one other thing. How is she going to treat you? She is going to trust you because trust is a choice.
Right.
It's not an event. Trust is a choice. You've done everything right. She's watched you in your job over the years. She totally respects you. She knows what a little screw off you were in high school and that you now have your act together, and she's impressed. She knows all that. Guess what? Your client that found you over the internet is no way to know all that.
Exactly.
This is what they know. You are your word, and you say please and thank you.
Absolutely. You know, it's funny. So one thing, because our industry in the lending business has changed, because in the very beginning, most of my meetings were in person. Every application that I was taking was in person. And now we've moved more towards this digital application, you know, take our quick discovery call, get on the phone with them. And within that 15, 20 minutes that we have a client on the phone, we have to basically sell ourselves as to here's the reason why you're going to be using me, because I know my stuff. You know, here's the reason why. And just like you said, it's all, you know, tone of voice. It's all like active listening. It's everything else. And so as a salesperson, when you're going over the phone versus in person, just like you said, it's the whole world has changed in that respect. One of the things that I found, especially with this pandemic too, is Zoom meetings, right? So Zoom meetings are still that informal like in-person meeting.
Yes.
But also at the same time, it allows for you to essentially read a client. So when you walk in front of somebody versus like a phone call or like an in-person meeting, like what is it specifically that you're looking for as far as like their reactions to you?
Well, I would back up and kind of address some of the things you were talking about in terms of pacing and watching people and all of that. So when you become the ultimate journeyman salesman, no one knows when you're selling and no one knows when you're not selling, because you're not doing anything to get anyone. You're not trying to get anywhere.
Right.
This is very important. See, I care, but not that much, about potential opportunities.
Right.
I care deeply about my customers. But you're not my customer yet. You're just a needle in a haystack.
Right.
And I have to figure out if this is a needle that I can use, a needle that I work with. It might not be a good fit. This is not what for example, I have mortgage lenders in your category that, some of the guys I work with they don't do land. Well, it's going to be a waste of time to even go down that path. So I have to understand the products.
Right.
But the key in looking at communication style is to remember something that most people are completely unaware of until you tell them, and they're like, yeah, that makes sense. And that is 67% of communication is body language.
100%.
6% of communication is the words we use. So on the one hand, you could say, well, the words don't matter. Oh, no, because there's so few. Mm-hmm. You must get them right. You must understand what you're saying. You cannot use jargon, right? It doesn't matter. People don't understand. Remember what I said earlier.
Exactly.
They're not going to tell you they don't understand. Okay, so when you go fast and you use jargon and you tell them, that we're going to have, I can't think of any off the top
your
right.
DTI at the LTV is...
Yeah, your APR and da-da-da-da and your interest rate, and they don't understand the difference. There's a difference between your interest rate and APR.
You gotta talk in layperson terms.
Yeah, it's jargon. It's jargon. It's absolutely a violation of the industry of sales,
right,
and the profession to use jargon.
100%.
And when you, I would say to anyone who's listening that is a new salesperson, that enlightenment and wonderment that you came home the day after passing your real estate or your broker or whatever exam, and you come home and you tell everyone, did you know this? Well, the reason why this happens is because of this. And then you're speaking all in layman's terms because you don't know anything well enough to be all jargony yet. Never lose it.
Yeah.
Never lose it. And
Absolutely.
I'll give you a perfect example. My wife, who was in real estate law for 22 years, did an open house the first time, I think it was like in 2009 or when, no, 2004 was when she started. So she had an open house. She came home and she said to me, I said, how did it go? She goes, oh gosh, it was so wonderful. And I talked to these people. Of course, I'm a sales leader, and I'm thinking, all I want to get to is how many leads did you get? Right? Like that's all. And I'm just,
I don't care who you talk to.
I don't care about the backstory.
Exactly.
I just want to hear, like, I have this many potential clients. That's all. And so I'm listening for this. I'm not listening really to this blah, blah, blah. And we talked and we this. And I said, okay, well, show me what you did. And so what she did is she told me her little story, and then she pulled out a business card and she handed it to me. And she said, call me if you want to see any homes. This is what she claims. This is 2004. She claims she did this day. And I said, okay, great. Now let me do this to you. And I repeated what she did, and I handed her the card at the end, and I said, so give me a call if you want to see any homes. And she took the card, and I looked at her and I go, how did that feel?
Are you buying a house with me?
Yeah, no, this is what she said. I said, how did that feel? And she said, like nothing. And I said, that's what it was. I said, let me show you how to do it. And I said, did you tell them anything? Did you know that it doesn't, this is critical. Did you know that it doesn't cost anything to use an agent to buy a home in California? And she said, everyone knows that. I said, sweetheart, we weren't always in real estate. We thought we could save money by going and talking to the listing agent, only to learn that, no, we never got a deal. We had no one representing us, essentially.
Exactly.
Right? Don't get me wrong. I love it when our company does both ends, but I ultimately am not a fan of that.
Right.
I'm not going to turn the money down, and we're very, I feel like we do it right. But ultimately, you need somebody representing you.
Exactly.
Okay? So now follow this. This is critical. A little bit of an argument and disagreement. I said, just do me a favor, try it out. So the next weekend, she did it. And thank the Lord, the first person that came in was a mortgage broker's assistant. So, of course, the assumption is they know everything. When my wife said to her, "Did you know that it's free to use an agent in California?" She said, "No, I didn't know that." And that changed it for my wife.
Right.
So my training was very ineffective. Her experience was extremely effective.
Right.
And so what we want to do is to take this basic model of helping another person. And the way you help them is to listen to them. And when someone says to you, "You should be in sales because you're so good at talking to people," and that's your clue to stay away from sales.
Exactly.
Because you need to know marketing, you need to know business, you're going to be running your own books, you're going to be creating promotions, you're going to be dealing with legal and regulatory issues that are ever evolving, and you have to be in compliance or you're going to go up to including jail.
Yep.
And that's where we're at today. And what people don't realize is when you get hooked up with the wrong real estate agent or the wrong mortgage broker, or as we're talking, the wrong salesperson, it can be devastating.
Yep.
And we have stories, don't we?
Absolutely. So going back, because right now, I know that you have vast experience within various sorts of businesses, right? So as we were talking, found out that you did credit card processing, and then more recently, just like you said, you're the broker on record.
Sure. We did Cloud PBX. I've been involved with telco. I started Showtime in the movie channel. We started Home Shopping Network. We invented the first credit card machine that can be used on Delta Airlines to accept payments and transact. That didn't used to be able to happen. We started with 7 channels in cable and went to fiber optic cable with Ted Turner and WTBS. And so I was involved in all these transitions. I brought the first technology from Shimaseki, Japan, which was called the Quantel paint box system, so that we could change images live. It's something you take for granted today. You paint on your phone. And John Chaney, Art Porter, and Scott Hardy brought that technology in 1988 to America. And so I've been involved in a lot. I sent out the first video emails, and then we got shut down for spamming because apparently you can't send 22,000 emails to people you don't know. And so that was back in the late 90s. And then a company named YouTube put a video of an elephant up on the internet, and we all know the rest of the story.
Absolutely.
So I've been there a few times. I've had some great things. My greatest accomplishment is both of my daughters have master's degree from elite universities and were extremely productive citizens. And I think the role of any parent is to make their child a productive citizen by 18.
Absolutely.
You don't have anything to do after 18.
No,
The law takes over.
The law takes over, exactly.
The law takes over.
And now your family has even transitioned into, your daughter Paige is a very
top agent in
top
the yeah,
agent.
she was named a top agent in the Valley. My wife she was the #1 agent in Tarbell. We ended up this is important. My wife and I ended up with a real estate company because nobody was trustworthy that we worked for. And I don't want to indicate, Tarbell's not even around anymore. I'm not trying to point fingers or anything. But what I'm saying is that no one kept their word. People did things that I don't agree with, right? And I don't agree with tricking, and there's just a lot of stuff. And the laws have tightened things up, but you can't change the fact that people will still try to convince you how honest they are, and I just run from that, right? So what happened was my wife's success created a lifestyle for us.
Absolutely.
I was involved in some things. When you're involved at the high level, CEO level, there can be lawsuits and other things. And so ultimately one day we looked at each other and we said, we better really focus up because this is our business. This isn't a hobby for Jill anymore and something that keeps the wife making, it's better than being in a law firm all day. That's
absolutely.
how it happened. And so then my daughter went and got her EMBA from Pepperdine University, Paige Hardy Hill. She married a structural engineer, and his firm, Seven Hills Engineering, works with us. My other daughter has her master's from Johns Hopkins University. She became, a designer, and she's now working with our firm. And then her husband is now, as you know, working with you,
Absolutely.
Rick Hancock, in the mortgage industry. And so what we've done is we've tried to tie all of the related businesses together to help seamlessly help you find a home or design a home, get the loan, manage the project, sell your home, or remodel your home and increase the value, whether it's pool or just interior design. And so this has been a dream of mine, but again, it was my dream. And everyone else had to agree. And so I suggested it, and what I found is that the collaborative effort that I'm involved with your organization and my own family increases our efficiencies. We cost less, we're faster, we sell homes faster, and we find them faster for less. and we're able to get them to you, and you come up with financing packages that we don't even know to think about. So you enhance the relationship. So I would say it this way. All of our partners are smarter than us in what they do.
Right.
And together, if there's 5 of us, that adds up to 2,500. And if I take one of those people out, it's not 4, it's -4.
Right.
We lose. We're not as good as we could be without partnering with people like you.
You know what's funny? I'm gonna say one thing too. So when I started in the industry, it was the ultimate lone wolf industry. You're out for yourself. You're out to basically do things on your own. And one of the things that I started noticing is, like, I brought on one person, and so then we created the team, the 2 Mortgage Guys team.
Right.
And I was like, you know what? Like, we're better, strength in numbers, right? So we would go to offices together. We would brand and advertise together. And all of a sudden, it was just like, instead of this lone wolf type mentality, it's,
it creates energy in the marketplace.
Exactly. And ultimately, what then happened is it morphed into a place where, now there's up to 12 loan officers and 2 processors, 3 operations staff.
Well, this is a podcast, and no one will believe that I don't have a motive to promote us, okay? And I want to do that through just education. But I want all of our listeners to understand that I am extremely critical of sales processes. My gift is arrangement. I write music. I do, I'm the arranger. I'm the drummer. I'm the singer for the band. I arrange the music, okay? I don't know how to write music, but I know that guitar needs to go sooner or later or whatever, right? So when I observed your organization, and this is critical for our listeners, if they knew who I was, they would know how important this is, that I've been through one mortgage broker after another for the last 20 years. I have been disappointed. I was involved with a recruiting effort to find mortgage brokers that generated $100 million a year. I was an executive. We only called on them for a large national company. So I got to see how they operated. I was just not impressed. I was shocked that they could even do this much business. I didn't know how half of them even found their way to their office in the morning. There was no consistency, and I was very disappointed. I found people lied to me. I felt people did not keep their word, which I'm big on. They didn't communicate with what I call the Holy Trinity. The Holy Trinity is your escrow officer, it's the person taking out the loan that's trying to buy the house, and it's the real estate agent to put the deal together. Yep. And these people just did not have the ability through the technology or anything. And so I'll just say we had a problem with one of your guys, and you took care of it swiftly. And you showed me that you share the same value system, and that was important to me. I mean, you're going to approach things different. You have a different personality, your professional golfer background, all that. I was just a hack motocross jumper who, was a terrible lander,
Right.
and so, an unpaid amateur stunt man my whole life, right? And I have the injuries to show for it. But what I saw, and this is important for everyone, is I saw the first company that did it the way I believe it should be done, which is they don't worry about their competition, they worry about their customers.
Right.
And when you have a problem with your customer, you fixed it for all your customers. You didn't just fix the one thing and then keep having the same problem. And as a result of that, everyone needs to understand that my son-in-law, who was an Olympian swimmer, coach, everything, chose your company over all the companies in the United States.
Right.
That made it convenient because now they moved back to the Temecula Valley, and Grandma's very happy.
Good.
Right. Yeah.
It's funny because the other thing, you touch on competition, right? So obviously, there's market competition. There's various forms of competition within the sales category. But the one thing that I stress for every single one of my salespeople is the only competition that there is yourself. Competition.
If you're a swimmer, you can imagine
exactly.
that mindset. Tennis player, things like that.
So you go out there. Obviously, within our area, there's so many different lenders, and there's so many good lenders who are producing at a very high capacity. And if you start thinking I have to outperform that person, that is the wrong type of mentality, in my opinion.
It's wasted. It's
wasted.
It's a spatial time vampire.
Yeah.
It's just sucking your brain out. You can't focus on what you're doing.
So for us, our goals have been set of how can I beat yesterday's me? How could I beat the production that was done then? And so, for so long, I was plateauing at a certain level. And it was just like, how can I get past this specific plateau? And it was, I'm trying to compete with this person. I'm trying to compete with this person, this person. As soon as I started competing with myself and making it a game of how can I get this, all of a sudden production skyrocketed for me. You know, all these different things happening. I wouldn't be able to open this office without making it a game.
Right. And that's the word we need to put a pin in, the game. When I sold credit card processing, I mean, you know, let's face it, if you have babies and you lose your job and you go get a new job, you're usually going to work super extra hard. But explain to me how somebody can be in the industry for 10 years and I can show up and in 30 days I can set new records and beat everyone. Okay, because I'm just literally doing my job.
Yeah.
And that's how you find out no one's actually doing their job.
Yeah,
like, I just did my job. I'm like, I'm not doing anything special. I'm looking, I'm crushing special about it. Right? But this is important, is that I want to say, I'll put a pin in this, that we are looking at it as a game because we're highly skilled and we don't have to worry where our next meal's coming from. We've achieved what we set out to achieve. Now we're trying to figure out how to go to the next level.
Right.
What can we do? And this is the key, okay? No commission breath. What you said that a lot of people wouldn't catch unless they're in sales is that you're not going for the money anymore.
Right.
Right? You made enough money and you're comfortable, but you enjoy the business. And so what I did in my industry as a younger man, I came into the how many can I do? And I will tell you that on a 7-unit goal a month, I averaged 33. And one day, right, I did 58 deals. So I don't even think I could ever repeat that. There's a lot of things that go back into how I marketed that and set that up and did that. But the point is that when I took the position, I hoped to do 84 deals for the year.
Right.
And they looked at me and said, boy, Scott, and they didn't know me, boy, if anyone can do it, you can. I took that as a very insincere comment, since I was a new hire by somebody that I did not know and did not know me, and I know they didn't even read my resume, and that scared me. It scared me a lot. I thought, this is unachievable. And what I did is, for the first time ever, I put together a sales plan. I was told to do it. I was told to network, I was told to go do this, and I never wanted to do it. Back when there's a company called Pacific Telesis. If you went to a networking meeting at the Chamber of Commerce, there were so many phone sales guys there. It's like, everyone was new. No one could buy anything from each other. Like, they're all new salespeople.
Right.
Well, I just kind of had to find my place. And what I learned was all my experience, I can spend time with people and help them in a lot of areas, and then they'll say, well, what do you actually do? And then that's where I can help. I'm like, well, actually, real estate and this, we can help you with that. Oh, okay, well, I was looking for a home.
Right.
Instead of heading in that way. It's like, I've observed that I can help you. You have a store. The way it's arranged is clogging the flow. I can help you with that. Hey, did you know? Did you know? And so add value, give it away for free. I mean, if you want to be on TikTok today, you better do training videos for free, right? So give it away to keep it. That's how sales pros operate. I'm going to tell you everything about me. I'm going to tell you everything I know. And if you want to steal it and go do it, good. I've never seen anyone do it yet, because a poor plan, fully executed, beats a perfect plan, poorly executed every time.
Absolutely.
Every time. Just do your thing.
So last week, I kind of thought this was funny because I had a phone call today. I was talking with my dad. And so last week, he's like,
Your dad, the professional golfer.
My dad, the professional golfer. He's like, hey, how's everything going? I'm like, yeah, it's really good. Like, business is picking up for us. Like, this month for us, the month of May, we're calling it 10X month. We're reading. Oh, wow. I made everybody get the 10X rule, and we're all reading it together. It's almost like a book club, basically. Okay. So, yeah, thank you, James. Appreciate that.
So is that number 41?
That's 41.
See, I don't do that. I took one book and I studied it.
Actually, that's a one book. I've gone through it 4 times now. So that's
I've got to write one. I'm gonna write one called. Actually, I wrote it. It's called "Sell Your Way Out of It."
I like it. That's.
Everyone worries about money all the time, and they're in commission-only jobs. It's like, just get
busy.
Out of it.
Exactly. So basically, what I did last week, because I was talking with my dad, and he's like, so how's everything going? I'm like, good. We're going through this book. Everything's going good. And I was like, you know what I really want to do? Because I want this month to be the month where we just explode. Like, that's a word that, has been on my mind, like explosion, right? So last week, I was like, we're going to make a game about it, going back to the game. Walking to the staff meeting, I'm like, everybody, how many meetings are you taking per week? How many meetings are you taking per month? And And I was like, I could tell you right now, like, I'm not even doing this, and this is something that we all need to do.
Right.
And it's not just with our existing partners, obviously, because I can have 14 meetings with our existing partners and get nothing accomplished from that. I'm talking about new business development. How much are you actually doing? And everyone's like, okay, I'm thinking about it. I'm only doing like 1 to 2 per week.
This is why this is important, what you're saying.
Right.
Leads, which is just the way the industry is. Like in my business, it's Zillow. If you don't get Zillow leads, I mean, you know, we have a book of business we have probably about 7,000 names of people we've touched over the years. And by the way, that's not all of them because we didn't have a database in the early days. My wife said she did, but it turned out to be Gmail.
Right.
She thought it was a database. I'm like, that's not a database.
That's an email.
It's an email system. But the point is that she and I have tried to, you know, really work that. We get a lot of listings from that. Everybody knows this. People don't just call up off the internet and say, I want to sell my house. I mean, it's not really that way. So they call someone they know. And when they can't get a hold of them, by the way, they call us. I mean, that's how we get those deals.
Get those business.
But in order for buyer leads, okay, so we have to use this thing called Zillow. But here's what I'm going to tell you. And so anyone who's in sales, you need to understand this, internalize it, and understand what its effect. Leads retard the prospecting gene. Do you know what I mean?
Yep, absolutely.
What do I mean when I say that?
Because you sit back on your haunches. You're not going after the new.
You literally, and
business
it happened to me, forget how to go get it.
Right.
And that door has a boulder in front of it and you can't get out of your house.
Right.
And the phone weighs 55 pounds and you can't lift it anymore.
Exactly.
And that is sales. And so sales is a mental game and you must overcome it. If you tell me you're at home watching Sports Center and eating Cheetos all day, I can help you with that. I've done that before. I've done that. You know, you just, when you wake up in sales and you use this model, which is what almost everyone does, is I got to find a new customer today. I need to finish the deal I started today, and I need to file that paperwork today, and I need to do the database, and you know, I have all these things, and that's not how you do it. I created a system that I promote heavily called Selling for Sanity, and that is Mondays. I break it up, and let's define utopia.
Right.
Utopian. Utopian is unachievable perfection. Everyone I did, until I looked it up in the dictionary, thinks that that is perfection. No, utopian world is unachievable perfection. So a utopian sales system and time management system is unachievable.
100%.
Okay, so with that in mind, here's the deal. Monday is a follow-up day. That's all I do. I don't do anything else. Stuff happens, but no, I don't. Tuesday and Thursday, I'm meeting with clients and prospects all day long. Wednesday, if I don't prospect, it's kind of like not shaving. After a while, you start looking like a bum.
Yep.
So I just need to go out there and do it. And I need to call people, and I need to say, this is Scott Hardy, and the purpose of my call is this, and, I'd like to, who are you, what do you want, and when do you want it? Remember, did I catch you at a bad time? No. Well, this is who I am, this is what I want, and this is when I want it. And just say it casually. And you'll be shocked, and people will speak with you. Thursday, I go back out in the field again, or I just try to stay out, get out of my office, get the blood. Friday is a catch-all, not my day off. It's a catch-all because I said I want to meet with 4 people this week, and so far I've only met with 3. And I want to hit that goal because I am playing a game with myself.
Yep.
The final thing is I keep my word to me first, and I come up with a goal. I get up at 4:30 because I like to work out, I like to read, I like to play music, and you all start calling me around 9, 8, and 9, and I can't do any of my own thing. So I must greet my customers.
Right.
So I have to get up and get my stuff done, greet my customer, and then I will be able to meet your needs. And by if somebody says, look, Scott, I can't meet you on a Tuesday or Thursday, because remember the sales technique. So I'd like to meet with you, and they're like, great. I mean, is Tuesday or Thursday better? Well, Thursday, with morning or afternoon. I just walk them down a path to fit into my schedule because I'm time management. I wake up in the morning, I'm proactive. What does that mean?
Yep.
It means I do my thing. I don't open my email and respond reactively to emails.
Yes.
And when you text me and say you sent me an email, I laugh and delete your text.
Right.
I'll get to it when I get to it. I am responsible. I'm responsible for my time. I'm responsible for all.
You take your time as far as you control it.
I
right?
control it.
Because what happens is, and I've noticed this, because in the very beginning, when I first started in this industry, and it was like, how can I get to this next level? I was reactive to everything.
Yeah.
So
And you
I'm
think
sitting
that's
in my email.
Like I'm really servicing everyone.
I'm sitting in my email all day waiting for the next email to come through so that way I could do it. And it's instead of being reactive, as soon as you start being proactive, then it's just like boom, 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 boom. And that's what, same thing. When I'm teaching my guys right now, I'm sitting down with them. It's, okay, guys, first and foremost, get out there and get known. If you're not known, how can you grow? Right.
And historically, most of the research for sales has all been done by the insurance industry because they're the ones that were making all the money in the early days. They did with Harvard and many other Yale, and they did all these studies, and they've been duplicated year after year after year after year. Always says the same thing. The perfect salesperson has high empathy and high ego drive.
Yep.
So that means ego drive is I go to the sales call and you say no, and no matter what, you just don't seem. I know it's a perfect product for you. This is the worst when you just know and you just didn't get it through to them. I just didn't get through them. I made a mistake. I said something. I talked too much, whatever. And I leave. Because when they tell you I need to think about it, that's because you won't shut up.
Right.
That's why everyone says I need to think. So the process that I get frustrated with is when I've made mistakes and I know I can help the customer and they tell me they want to think about it. So in ego drive, okay, this is with reference to ego drive, I will walk out with another salesperson, it's a classic example, and we will look at each other and say, they're so stupid they don't even get it.
Yeah.
That's our first. That's called ego. That's protecting ourselves.
Yeah.
By the time we're in my car, we start talking about what we need to change in ourselves so that we can better meet the client's needs, or the prospects. In that case, it's the prospect's needs. Okay, that is critical in a sales. If a salesperson, and I'm going to tell all of you out there this, if you are high in sympathy, get out of sales and go into customer support and service. Sympathetic people try to change the way you feel. And when you ask for someone to move forward in a sales environment, remember that I have identified needs you have, you've agreed you want a solution, and the only way you're going to get it is to sign the contract.
Yeah.
You can't get it any other way.
Yep.
Okay, so if I can't get that to happen, you can't get your solution.
Yep.
My ego drive is going to overcome your negativity. My empathy is going to say, I totally understand what's happening here, and I feel the way it's feel, felt, found. I understand how you feel. I had lots of clients that felt the same way you did, but what they found is when they work with me, that I take care of the things that, quote, you're concerned with, and then we don't have that issue, so why don't we move forward? A sympathetic person will put the agreement back into their purse or their briefcase. I've watched it. I've been on thousands of sales calls, and they will change and start saying, this is how to feel better about what you're going through. Yep. And they will not work for your company anymore. And the last thing I will add to you as a question, how long does it take a salesperson to stop selling for you and start selling for the customer or prospect?
That is a great question.
How long does it take a salesperson to walk out of your office and start selling for someone else?
You're making me think about this one. I'm going to say I'm going to say 6 months.
Okay. How about the first call? So check this out. No one thinks about this. John, if we can do this, he'll buy. That's selling for the client. You talk to my daughters, I literally get upset all the time. I'm like, quit selling for everyone else. Get back on the page. Think about what we're doing.
Get back on the page.
Paige, get back on the page. Right? Like, we're not doing that. Okay? Because we are confident in our knowledge and we know that this is not true. The client is not right. Scott Hardy is on record telling you, I have not met a client that is right yet.
True.
I have found clients that have been told they're right for long enough that they think they know it. But all I have to ask somebody is, when's the last time you passed the real estate broker's exam?
Right.
When's the last time you were in a 2.5-month training on technology for credit card payment systems? When's the last time somebody showed you how to read your credit card processing statement?
Yep.
Never. Never. Well, then why are you telling me? Well, I'm polite. I say please and thank you. And I'm going to keep my word. And my word is, I'm going to teach you. And whether you go with me or not is irrelevant. I never have to worry about a well-educated customer. I have to worry about customers that I have that are not fully educated.
Right.
Customers that are not fully educated are swiped away by people who aren't very educated either.
True.
And so when they team up, disasters happen. So you need to take control, you need to be the leader, you need to be firm, and if you're going to deal with me, I'm going to test you. But the good news is, as a sales pro, you don't have to do that many things right in front of me. to make me buy from you.
True.
I'm really kind of a pushover when it comes to buying stuff, you know. You did one
You're like,
right
okay.
thing. I'm like, all right, you can have the sale, you know. And so
That's awesome. So, yeah, I mean, I think obviously there's a lot of good information within this podcast. I mean, I think this is definitely something that we are going to be continuing doing. If we
I think it's good to talk. The reason why I like your format, and
Sure.
I think it's important for people to listen to this, whether you're in sales or not, because if you're in sales, you're going to learn how to sell correctly, because you're probably not. And I'm going to tell you straight up, I don't have a very high respect for real estate agents, because most of them, I mean, COVID was a blessing in this one sense, that if you were cutting hair and you had your real estate license and you were a cosmetologist or anything, you're out of business.
Right.
Thank you, people. We had a situation where the lady worked at Macy's during the day, and she's upset at us because we're blowing up her phone, and she won't respond to the text because, you know, she's in the lingerie section selling a bra right now, and she can't be bothered.
Right.
The problem is your $650,000 loan is going down the toilet, and you know, the other agent is saying, if you don't provide the paperwork, we're canceling the sale, and we can't even get a response out of you. So I'll tell you two things, people, that you need to remember. You need to use a local agent, and that means neighborhood specific.
Right.
Real estate is a neighborhood industry. It's not a national industry.
How many people, this is the funny thing. So a lot of people will think like, I got to go, we're in the Riverside County area, right? But somebody will think like, I got to go find somebody from LA County to go list my house in Riverside County. Like,
yeah, that's a really bad idea. And I'll give you an example. I'll give you a real life example, and I benefited from it. And I've been complaining about these agents my whole life, and now I'm like, oh, well, thank you very much.
Yeah.
So we had a piece of property that we knew, we had many lot listed in what's called infill. Infill is when you have a neighborhood with one lot, let's say, and you would fill in that lot. That's infill. You know the home's gonna sell, so this is what we do on the side as a family. We'll buy a lot, and then we'll build a house, and we'll sell it off and make a little extra money here. It's just kind of a, you know, fun little thing we do.
Sure.
Well, guess what? We are on a budget. So I can't go over, in this case, I couldn't go over $150,000 for the land. Well, what happened is all that land where I wanted to buy it was $225,000. We had the listings. We knew the market inside and out. And we found one it was actually 107. It was down to 107. It started out at $230,000. And over 2.5 years, that's because, no, this is Temecula, California. The agent was from Lancaster, California, and a friend of the property owner. Do you know what I bought that $230,000 piece of land for? Because they didn't have the pin in the map correctly. They had it in Murrieta.
95.
103.
Attaboy.
I just bought 10 acres that across the street, 4 acres sold for $950,000. This closed last month. That property had the pin in the map in the wrong spot, and if you went and looked, it was a hole with a bunch of oak trees and a river, and you know, you have the fish and game to deal with. Nobody wants to try to build there. You can't build, you can't cut down the oaks, okay? So remember, across the street, last month, $950,000 for 4, and I closed the month before. What did I buy that 10 acres for? Which has been on the market for 4 years, and I looked at it 5 years ago and couldn't afford it.
Right.
Okay, because it was over $500,000 for that 10. Which, if you look at 4 at $950, that's a deal, right?
Right.
What did I buy it for?
105, 103,
130
130.
on a golf course.
Perfect.
Between the ocean and Temecula. This is what happens, people, when you pick the wrong agent.
True.
If you pick an out-of-town agent, if you're in San Diego and you drive up with your agent to look at homes in the Temecula Valley, you're not going to really do too well.
No, they don't know the market.
We have different loan limits. We have all kinds of regulations that are different than San Diego, Orange, and LA County.
Right.
Riverside County is its own beast. And I will leave you with this. If you don't understand the power of our community and the power of the Inland Empire, let me explain this. If I said to you that 4 million people were in Oregon, which is true, and that there's 4.5 million people in the Inland Empire, that would make the Inland Empire the middle state of the United States. California is the third largest economy in the world.
Right.
And the Inland Empire is the middle state of the United States. Put that in perspective. So you're going to come up here with someone who is a part-time agent from another area into the third largest economy and the middle state of the United States, where the relentless desert has met the relentless builders. And you're going to try to pull something off. And I can tell you, when my wife and my daughter have done more transactions than ever before, we're having more success than ever before, and every house has 20 plus offers, that means there's 19 agents that are going out of business every transaction because they can't get their offers accepted.
Right.
And the offer is not always the most expensive offer. It's the packaging, which you know that we work with you to position the buyer so that the seller knows this is going to go through, because somebody can offer you 10 times what you asked for your house, take you down to the last minute, and then bail. And now what are you going to do? Because when a home falls out of escrow, it's the scarlet letter. Yep. And it is plagued, and it will never get the price it did before.
Right.
I don't care what you do. I can always buy it for less. And when I buy homes, I look for homes that fall out of escrow.
Oh, yeah.
Because those are the deal homes.
Oh.
So don't wreck it.
Plus, they've been on the market for however long. There's something's wrong with this house.
You're chasing it because what I mean, this is, I'm just going to add this. I know it wasn't really the topic of today, but what happens is when you meet with a real estate agent to sell your home and you tell them what your home is worth and they agree with it, that is the red flag of the century. Yep. Run. Don't look for someone to tell you what you want. That's not research. You can go find anything you believe on the internet, exactly. Good or bad. Listen for someone that's going to tell you something new, and then you're going to say, I didn't know that, I didn't know that. Yeah, well, if you price your home wrong, let's just say you put it $10,000 too much on the market. By the time you sell it, historically, you'll probably sell it for 40 grand less.
Yeah.
Because you're chasing it, you're always behind, you're always behind, you're always behind, and the time's going to catch up to you. Do you have to move quickly? Then you price it to sell. If you don't, then go bigger, yes. But understand, if your agent can't show you why, it's called comparables. Your house is worth what someone will pay, and historically, in the last 90 days, they've paid this much for those types of homes. So I don't care if you put $350,000 into a home entertainment system or 70 grand into your pool. You're only gonna get 20 on your pool, no matter what, if you're lucky.
Right.
It doesn't matter. I put a new car stereo and I have special rims. Who cares? It's Blue Book, buddy. It's not going to change. Exactly. You're not getting your money out. And that's how real estate is also.
Right. Absolutely. Well, I love it, Scott. Well, I think right now we're going to go ahead. This one's been going for some good time. We got a lot of good information. If you guys are in the sales game, I highly suggest that you tune in to us because we're going to keep this thing going. We're going to be talking about a lot of different sales techniques, everything else. This was our first official podcast. We got the podcast room set up. We got our producer, James Watson.
Really nice.
Really nice. We're going to get the video and everything else as well. So, Scott, I appreciate it as always. This was a pleasure, too.
Nothing happens until somebody sells something.
Absolutely.